take over.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. JC has been doing super well.
He has been.
He has been doing super well. Got knocked out of the tournament yesterday.
Just
tied
barely.
9th through 12th.
Just barely.
But expect to see more of it.
All right, so let's see if Fatina can rub off the emotional start that he had and push through.
Yeah. I wonder if it's still affecting him here. All right. Fatina still looking pretty dejected, but even in times of emotional distraught, he still seems to be playing very well. And I think, he's really taken steps forward in the last season during the finals against Akamaru Red. Akamaru Red nearly repeated the scenario, right, where he came back from lower end.
Absolutely.
And almost took first place again. I think he was 1 game away.
He was 1 game away. It was ridiculous. And you know what? We talk about Akamaru Red a lot, but Fatina is just as big of a name. He's been there every single time with Akamaru Red. The big difference is that Akamaru Red found his place at the World Grand Prix and got 2nd. So that's kind of why his name has been mentioned a little bit more. But Fatina, being one of the most, if not the best, I'm going to challenge Akamaru Red here, European player. I need to see Akamaru Red come back. We haven't seen him today, very surprisingly.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And that was one of the big things about the European participants for the World Grand Prix, right? Fatina didn't attend. Which I feel like would have been very interesting to watch. Akamaru Red went, and he just played really
crushed.
well.
Yeah.
2nd place in the world. Top 2 in the world.
Yeah, the Japanese guys were like, these Western guys, they don't got what it takes. 4 of our guys made it to top 8 along with 4 Japanese players. And who in the top 3 remained? 1 Japanese player and 2 Western players. That's all I got to say.
Vetu and Payne nearly made it too.
That's right.
They were very close.
Only 1 match away from making it.
Very, very close. So we'll see. We're building up the new guard for the Western Front.
That's right.
Who from North America and who from Europe are going to move forward to the 2018 World Grand Prix and have a shot at that $1 million first place prize. If you guys want to get involved and participate, definitely give the Shadowverse Open a try and start accruing points. Play in as many events as you can because consistency is key.
Consistency is key. Absolutely. And talking about consistency, I think this is the first time we've actually seen a mirror match with Burn Runecraft. They have been basically avoiding each other for as much as we've seen so far, and it really comes down to who can more consistently get their damage through. And that's it. How do you use your evolution orbs? Do you use them defensively? Do you use them offensively? How much damage can you possibly do? Where are those damage sources coming in, and how fast can you put them onto your opponent?
Really, I think Fatina is thinking about how he can, across these next 2 or 3 turns, utilize his evolution orbs to swing the game in his favor, especially because as you are going on the draw, that is your biggest advantage. Right?
That's right. And we don't talk about Carl that much, but in this scenario, when you're on the draw in the mirror matchup, being able to have 2 in play and healing,
yeah,
the option to heal can set you apart.
Yep. And now, that looks very tragic, but it would have been even worse if he was not able to gain health.
Absolutely. He's still at parity in defense right now, and he's able to take over the board again. Filling up the board after Magic Mage Levi feels great.
Yeah. I think this is good use of his evolution orbs as well, even though Anavel still has 1, because you need to respect the mutagenic bolts.
Yep. Yeah, you could say his name like that, right? Novel.
Novel. Anavel.
He is a book.
Well, we'll see how easy he is to read if Fatina can make the right plays around his deck.
What do you think about that evolution orb right there, very specifically? He chose to evolve a follower that will get destroyed by the attack, as opposed to the Guardian Golem that would have survived with 1 defense. How do you feel about that?
You reduce the amount of bodies that can turn around and be flame ratted. But
that's true.
It's also the big thing about flame rats that you need to think about, especially if you're an aggressive deck. You are actually in the advantage if your opponent plays the mutagenic bolt, because it is your turn and you can swing with the rats.
You're dealing 4 as opposed to it dealing 2 to you,
exactly.
Right? And in a lot of scenarios that feels good. In this scenario, it doesn't feel so good.
Definitely avoided the board lock, so I like that.
Oh, you know what? There you go. That's exactly why. Smart heads-up play by Fatina. Why did I ever question him? He knows best. Avoided the board lock.
Fatina
What a
has
master.
a beautiful mind.
That's right. He's still tense, though. Look at him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's thinking real hard. Mage of Nightfall. I cannot imagine he will use that to gain back tempo. You're going to involve the... Okay.
He's got to clear some of the damage here, otherwise he's just going to die
I think
on
he's
board.
just dead.
He is
because you
just
swing
dead.
Flame Rat, Mutagenic Bolt, and then that's 2 extra damage, right?
So, for those of you watching, there is a downside to playing 3 Mutagenic Bolts. The upside is you see it more often. The downside is if you're actually on the defensive, they don't do anything. As a matter of fact, they closed the game out faster for Tina because he didn't really have any other options. He had to do it, or else he would have taken a bunch of damage from all those ward followers. But now, in the same token, he's still taking a ton of damage and can't do anything.
Yeah. We talked about it. What's going to happen over the course of the next few turns, and Anavel actually had such an advantage going into the game in terms of being on the play, got a bunch of followers on board, did a bunch of damage through the board, right? And that all sounds good to Burn Rune, right? But what is important is on that turn 4, 5, and 6, how do you swing the game around? How do you spend your evolution orbs? That's really the key. And Fatina did that very well. I mean, that was not an easy hand to play against, right? Levi's with Mutagenic Bolts, with Mage of Nightfalls.
Yeah.
That's a lot of aggression, but...
Absolutely. And the question I had about that evolution turn, that's something that not every player is going to do, right? They're going to make the most board-positive play, not think about board locking themselves, and maybe they don't win that game. Fatina just very easily and smoothly just like, nope, not going to board lock myself. Master Mage Levi, I'm winning this game.
Yeah.
Very good play from Fatina there.
Very nice.
This is why he is one of the best.
The best. EU's top dog.
That's right. Right, and Anavel not looking like a great curve. Well, I take that back. Looking like the best possible curve. My bad. I was looking at Fatina's hand while I was talking about Anavel. Anavel has a great curve. Fatina has an okay defensive curve. He does have a Breath of the Salamander into, well,
triple
Scyther to try to take out this early game, but not a whole lot of options that you'd like to see in the form of Sibyls and Fervors and things like that going up to the mid game here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. How badly do you want the Scythers to maintain into the late game and activate them as storm cards? How much do you want to utilize them early on as just kind of 2/2s that will trade up?
Right, and I think in this position, especially on the draw, you have to just get value out of them. Otherwise, you're just going to succumb to this overwhelming pressure that Anavel is going to be presenting here.
Yeah, this is the new age crew that Prince Catacomb has created.
That's right. And if you can notice, there are slight differences in our mid-range Shadowcraft deck lists. Like in most scenarios, we've seen Kai'Sa. In Anavel's hand, we see a Goblin Mage to pull other 2-drops out of the deck. Good for 2 reasons. Deck thinning means deck winning. We've talked about this, right?
Yes, deck thinning means deck winning.
And it does secure the same type of drop that the 2-drop would, except it doesn't give you that repeated value.
Aztahaka starting to get its cost reduced just a bit.
This is why I think you should play more of them, because instead of that being 2 Zeuses in hand, you have an Aztahaka, and now you have an actual curve leading up to the end game as opposed to just having a bunch of 10-drops in your hand. And if you play aggressively with Dragon, if you can actually tempo out your Storm cards, it still acts like old Storm Dragon does. Tempo Storm, Tempo Storm, Tempo Storm, win the game. You just end it. Don't give your opponent time to think.
Oh my goodness.
Double Prince.
Prince Catacomb says, hey, you know how you become skeletons after you pop? Well, why don't I make you as a skeleton become a skeleton after you pop?
That's right. Friends.
This is ridiculous. This is probably the biggest Prince Catacomb curve I've seen in a while.
I mean, this is the curve that you want. 2-drop into Skull Ring, into Prince Catacomb with a backup Prince Catacomb. You don't always want this against every deck, but against Dragoncraft, absolutely you do. You just want to make sure that your board is maintained at all times.
I mean, you're going to set up an insane Ector turn here, right?
Yep. There's no way around it. There's literally no way around it. Ektar will get damage in. Really, it's, though, after this Ektar, what are you really pushing with? There's not a whole lot left. Does have options to remove some followers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the Andrialphus evolve, so I would imagine, I'd hope to God that you draw something. Yeah.
You will draw some cards. But Fatina, if he can manage to survive, he already does have the Queen of the Dreadsea, Aztahaka, Zeus combo to kind of push with if he feels like he's in trouble.
One more here, too.
Yep.
But how is he going to get that extra little bit of damage that he'll need?
You know what? We might see it the same way we saw yesterday in the way, Crumzian was playing. And even some of the other players yesterday where they were just going all in. They're like, you know what? I'm going to lose the long game if I keep just playing one threat after another. What happens if I just dump my whole hand at the same time? Yeah, deal with it.
And we already know that classically it's actually quite tough for Shadowcraft to put a ward out, especially without soul conversion.
Right. Absolutely. I think there are enough tools in Fatina's hand where he's not going to go in immediately. He does have a Bahamut play here. Now he has Sybil at the ready with Scythers if he wants to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Opening this up to little Soul Squasher. Very interesting.
Interesting.
He could have, I mean, looking at the deck list, there might not be any little Soul Squashers in Anavel's deck, or maybe all of them have been used.
That's an interesting point, because you were talking about how Soul Squashers are starting to be less and less used, but still this Evolution Orb kind of falling to the Necro Assassin.
Yep. Not too sure about that. Maybe he was just trying to put himself in a situation where he could win the game next turn, which I definitely don't mind. Right now, with the Queen of the Dread Sea combo, he does have 13 damage. So maybe he's just trying to look for everything he can. Wow. Now he's going for it.
Okay.
He's like saying, all right, I'm all in. Might even evolve the Zeus here.
Interesting. So there's a few ways you can cut the cake, right? You could evolve the Dread Sea, to get the board advantage. Or you could have evolved one of the Storm cards for more damage. The Zeus would give you a little more defense on the ward, while evolving the Azidahaka would have made it a little tougher, like having to fight through the Zeus and then trying to remove the Azidahaka.
That's right. And it looks like Anavel's going to have to play defensively here.
Is he actually going to be able to do this? He can remove that.
He can kill the Zeus and then play one ward. Right, so that means he's not effectively... Oh, wait, it is.
Yeah, it's...
Right?
The ward can be blown through by the 6 damage Azidahaka, and then the Dread Sea can swing, right?
Oh, there is little Soul Squasher. I did not see that in the hand. Okay.
Yep. And that makes sense.
So then the evolve on the Bahamut really doesn't make sense. Not sure why he did that.
What's the top deck? Everything feels bad.
I think that's going to end up being a scoop for Fatina here.
The Ector is going to come in and do as he do.
Yep. Unfortunately, sometimes you just don't have the options to play a long game. You go all in, you put all your cards on the table, and it's just not enough.
If he had the Evolution Orb, I mean, you could have justified playing a bunch of Sibyls, right? Or even Israfil evolving.
Right. Again, that evolve on the Bahamut right there. You know what? I don't question Fatina. I say I shouldn't, but sometimes. Sometimes.
Always question.
Always question.
Always question.
Even if you're wrong.
Leave yourself open. And this is just a good life lesson in general. Always leave yourself open to be excited and surprised.
Yes, thank you, Senpai.
One part curiosity and the willingness to learn and be surprised.
Well, that's one of the biggest things, especially over the course of this year, the willingness to learn. Get outside of your norm. Don't think you know best ever. And just play. And listen, watch, learn, all those things. I'll keep repeating myself.
Interesting. I would love to know. Hey, you know there was actually a really great thread on the subreddit that was posted between yesterday and today about the Shadowverse Open. People were talking about the Jungle Warden play. I think it was trading board and the mutagenic bolt came in.
Oh yeah. The very like unassuming like trade board instead of going face. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I like reading threads like that. I lurk. I like reading it. Thank you very much to the community. I think it was Fail Bait. I think it was Fail Bait that did that. But thank you very much for interacting and posting and getting the community involved.
And you can see Fatina, not to cut you off here, sink back in his chair after taking a look at his opening hand here. This does not bode well.
Yeah. Fatina can count to 30 right now. 10, 10, 10. It's,
one of those dragon hands, Dragon Can Brick, where you just kind of, like, see, this is what I'm talking about, Azidahaka instead of one of those Zeus's. You know what I mean? At least
Yeah.
give you something.
And the Ayala doesn't feel good where it would have before.
Yep.
You know.
Pressure board, take some damage off the board while also ramping. Now you have to wait with it. And honestly, there's not really a good curve play to even top deck here. Like, if you top deck a Fervor, doesn't feel good. Top deck a Sybil doesn't feel good. Well, I take that back. You top deck a Sybil, it still probably feels good.
Yeah.
But you can't do it alongside of the Ayala. I guess Scyther could be an okay top deck. Unfortunately...
Man, the hand is just
Yeah.
so strong on the side of Anavel.
Okay.
Anavel. Anavel.
Yeah, Scyther is probably the best option here in order to clear off the most damage possible. Evolve this, you play the Scyther to knock down the 4-4, and then you take the Evolved Ayala over the 2-2. And Fatina is covering his face. He does not even want to look at this.
I don't know. I don't think it can stop Burn Rune once it gets, it has the burn spells it needs. It has the...
Oh, yeah. If you can evolve a Mage of Nightfall, especially against Dragon, but against most decks,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm in the driver's seat this game. 6 damage burn spell is about as high as it gets.
Oh, man.
And that's going to spell doom for Fatina.
Wow!
Fatina
That feels terrible.
is going to get knocked out of this
That
tournament
feels terrible.
to a new player.
Hey, we talked about the early game of Dragoncraft taking a hit, and of course this is the extreme
extreme
end.
case,
This
yeah.
is the very